Hey everybody, it's Doug here, Doug Mystic Guy on Board Game Geek, bringing you a review and quick play of the new game by Privateer Press called Zombies Keep Out. It's a game for 1 to, I think, 6 players, yeah. It takes about 45 minutes, ages 8 and up, and in this game you are a group of goblin bodgers who are basically inventors. And in your world, you're in your workshop, and it is invaded by zombies. Zombies are trying to take over your workshop, and what you have to do in the game is basically hold them off while you create inventions that destroy them. And if you can manage to create 3 inventions, then you will overcome the zombies and win the game. But if they manage to take down your barricades and bite you enough, then you will automatically lose the. Well, you at that point will lose the game. First, we're going to go on with a quick overview of the components in the game and the setup, and then we'll get into a couple of turns. I'll show you how it's played as a single-player game, though, as I said, it can go up to 6. And we'll take it from there and see how it goes. So please enjoy this review and this quick playthrough, and let's get right into it. Okay, everybody. So here you have the game board, and what you can see is on the left-hand side, the Bodger's workshop, the doors to the workshop. First, on the very bottom, the yellow part is the Bodgers or goblins, whatever you want to call them, their basement. There are 2 gray windows, one on each side of the door. There's the main door in the middle, and then there's the balcony on the upper side of that. Now you notice that there's a bunch of circles with numbers in them. Those are the movement spaces. And as you're playing through the game, you're interacting with the zombies. You always start with the lowest number first and move up through number 20. So you'll start with 1 and move up through 20. Then on the far side, what looks like what used to be their swimming pool is where you're going to have your load of zombies that will approach the game and move on towards the Bodger's workshop. So basically, you're going to have them move through these spaces, and they'll attack in various positions. You notice also that there are colored arrows. Those help to dictate the movement of the zombies, and you'll see what that looks like in just a moment. So in Goblins Keep Out, you're going to be using parts and little pieces of gadgets to build experimental devices that will attack the zombies. These come in the form of parts cards, and each player will have a hand of parts cards depending on how many players are in the game. And these parts cards do a number of different things. We'll take a look at those right now. So, in looking more closely at your part cards, you're going to have 3 different components to this, and each of these represent an action in the game. There are a couple of other actions that aren't represented on the parts cards. But one of them is Tinker, and you can see here that there are parts associated with that Tinker selection right there, and those are going to also be represented on the cards for the inventions that you're going to be trying to build during the game. On the bottom left, you see the defend action, which allows you to basically take out zombies of a certain type or in a certain number. Usually you have to pick one or the other, or you can pick many. So as you can see in the one on the left, you can pick the blue zombies or the red zombies, and I'll get into what the differences in the colors are in a little bit. But and on the far one on the right, you can see that you can defend against all 4 types of zombies. You have to pick one, and you can basically attack that or remove one of those, or depending on the action, could remove zombies from the board. Now, in the repair section, let's say now you're going to have barricades that are blocking your doors and windows, your basement, and your balcony. And you can see here that this also allows you a repair action, which will repair multiple parts or components of your workshop. So in the case of the middle card there, you can see that you can repair 1. In the case of the one on the right, you see that you can repair 2 spaces, and on the one on the left, you can repair none. So this card cannot be used for the repair action. So that is an overview of these parts cards. Now you're going to see how those work in play in a little bit. So when you're looking at that Tinker action, how does that work, and how do you build these devices? So here we're looking at a couple of device cards. You can see this first one on the left-hand side, the Flamerator. You see the start button there. You're going to have a little token on there, which looks like a tool chest. And as you go along, every time you play a card as one of your actions, your tinker action during that turn, you will move that based on the corresponding spot. You have to have the right piece to tinker with. You will go from the start and go along all the way through the end. When you reach the end, so in this case that orange cog, you will then flip that card over and you will have a special ability. On the bottom it says completion bonus. You do get a bonus, usually number of cards or some effect that will take place in the game. And then you also get to immediately push the button, which is another action that you can do during your turn. So here on the right hand side we have the zombie scanner, and when you push the button it has an effect. You see down here you also have the Roboto Dock. If you push that button, it has an effect. It allows you to remove bite tokens. So you're going to be building these throughout the game. Now, it's a careful balance of what actions do you take? Do I defend? Do I tinker? Do I push the button? There's also some other things that you can do, and we'll talk about those during the action phase during gameplay. So another deck of cards that you have are terrible things. Now, at the beginning of each turn, each player's turn, you're going to draw a terrible things card. This is basically the AI for the game. And in a multiplayer session, you're going to pick one of those three. You're not going to tell the other players which one of the three selections. So if you look on the bottom, there's two terrible things cards, and you see that they each do something. So if I pick number 1, it says all zombies in the bottom 2 rows shamble. Now, I'll explain what that means during gameplay, but that basically results in a move. You can see that all zombies in the balcony, door, and cellar column shamble. And on the bottom one it says add 3 different types of zombies to the top row. You can see that they all have a wide variety of things. So when you draw the card, you're going to pick one of those and you're going to play it. You're going to discard that card face down after you're done. Your fellow players, while you are playing completely cooperative, they won't know what your other selections were, so it keeps a bit of randomness to the game. You can't actually share with them what those other actions would have been. You have to pick one and then discard it. But these, again, this is going to be the first thing you do on your turn before you take any of your actions, is draw a terrible things card. You also have some other important bits in the game. The upper right hand one that looks like a bunch of rotten teeth is a bite token. You'll get those throughout the game, and this is one of the ways that you can lose player actions, etc. And I'll go over those in the game, but when you're playing in a multiplayer, they do some fun things. Like when you get bit for the first time, you have to mumble, and it also restricts your actions. You can't trade cards with other players the first time you're bitten, and you also have to mumble out your words. It gets to the point where you can't even speak to other players, and you have to use hand gestures because you're so mutilated and mangled that you can't do anything. So it's kind of amusing. Now we're going to be playing a single player game, so I'm not going to mumble to myself or to you during the gameplay, but I will describe what each bite does if we take bites and multiple bites. So let's see how that goes. Now on the left hand side is the toolbox token. As I showed you on the cards for the inventions, there's a start marker, and then you move a token along the invention until you build it. That's the token that you use. Looks like a little toolbox. And below are your barricade tokens. There's going to be a certain amount of those on the board, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But basically, when zombies run into the barricade, you remove one of these tokens from the area that the zombie attacked. All right. Well, here are the little buggers that are going to be attacking your workshop. You can see that there are basically 4 colored types of zombies. I think it would have been nice had they actually provided a different zombie figure to identify the different types, because they do actually have meaning. Not only do the color spots corresponding to the board mean something, but if certain types of zombies attack certain parts of your workshop, they will do more and have an benefit for themselves based on the type of zombie that they are. So the gray ones are runners, the blue ones are leapers, the yellow ones are creepers, and the red ones are brutes. And they each do have a special ability. For instance, when the brute attacks your main door, they will do more than if they attacked any other part of the workshop. So we're going to get more into that. You'll see that in gameplay. But that's basically, so leapers basically they're trying to get onto the balcony, and so they will go for that space. Just to give you examples. So that's basically how those work. But again, we're going to get more into that during the gameplay. So these are our 4 ugly zombie critters that will be attacking our workshop. Okay, so looking at the beginning of the setup, You see that I've basically pooled all the zombies into one side of the board. So that's just basically, you got to get them all out there, but then there's going to be some additional setup. And you're going to be placing zombies in the back rows of the area heading toward the workshop. So continuing with a little brief overview of the setup, you can see that I've now placed the zombies in their corresponding spots on the board where they belong during the initial setup. You're going to see that you start on the bottom two spaces with two creepers that are going to make their way toward the basement of the workshop. And then you have on each of the two doors, or sorry, each of the two windows, the gray zombies. Those are runners. They're going to run toward those windows and try and break through. And then in the very middle, you have the red brutes, which are going to make their way towards the door. And there's, again, two of each in the back two columns. Now, they won't always come out in this order. This is the starting setup. But and then on the far upper north-hand side, you have two leapers that will be making their way toward the balcony. And that is the initial zombie setup. So the second part of the setup for us is to put up the barricades. Now, you could do this first or second. It doesn't really matter in which order they get set up, as long as they get set up. And you can see that I put a number of barricades onto the different sections of the board. So if you look at the board, you're going to have the balcony and the cellar. Those are on the two far outsides, the yellow and blue sections of the workshop. And those are going to have 8 barricade tokens each. So then you're going to have the two windows as well. They're closer to the center on each side of the door, and those each have 6 barricade tokens. And then you have the heavy door to the workshop in the middle with 10 barricade tokens, and that's your initial setup for the barricades. Next, we're going to lay out our inventions. And you can see here that we have randomly selected out of the inventions that are available to us, the 5 that will take place in the game. And it is completely random. So, you know, you never know what you're going to get. Now, you can also see that I've put in a toolbox on the start spot on each one of those, and that's going to be the initial setup. And as we create these inventions, they will affect and be affected by the row that they're in primarily, even though some of them have abilities to affect other rows too. It depends on the invention and what that invention's ability is when you push the button. But this is the setup. So completely random, you draw and place 5 cards in each of the card slots there, representing each section of the workshop in those spaces. So last but not least in the setup, we shuffled our Terrible Things cards and our Parts cards, and we put them to the side of the board. Also next to the board somewhere you will have your Bite tokens. You don't need any of the extra barricade tokens, nor any of the other invention cards that can go back in the box. They will not be used. When you are repairing your barricades, you cannot repair more than the allotted amount based on the space that those are in. So for instance, the 6 barricades on the window, you can repair them back up to 6, but cannot repair or put more barricades on those locations. And then depending on the number of players, you're going to draw cards, parts cards for yourself and your other players. Now, in a 1 to 2 player game, each player will draw 5 parts cards. In a 3 to 4 player game, each player would draw 4 cards. I'm sorry, a 3 player game would draw 4 cards. 4 players would draw 3, and 5 to 6 players would only be able to draw 2 parts cards in the first turn. Of course, there's ways to get more parts cards throughout the game, and you'll see that in gameplay. But basically, it goes through the zombies, the action phases that you have available to you. So, for example, as you're doing your workshop actions. So after you've drawn your Terrible Things card, you'll be able to tinker, you'll be able to defend, as we've noted as on the cards. You'll be able to repair, and then you'll be able to do 2 other things that aren't necessarily on the actual cards in play, especially the parts cards. That's scrounge, and that's where you're allowed to actually draw more cards. And then you're allowed to push the button as well, and that's where you're allowed to activate one of the inventions that have been built in the game. Now, normally there's a couple things. As I said, you can, if there are more players, we're going to be playing a single-player scenario or version of the game for this episode. And in a normal game, you can trade with other players during the phase, during the bodge step, which there are basically 2 steps. There's the zombies movement step, and then there's the bodge step. I think the zombies movement step is called Zombies Close in which case they will shamble and push each other and shove each other toward the front of the workshop and attack the barricades. Now, winning is actually very simple. All you have to do, if we have 3 locations overrun, we lose. If all the players have 2 or more byte tokens, so it's going to be absolutely critical in a 1-player game to not get a bunch of byte tokens. The zombies win as well. How we win as players is simple. We complete 3 inventions. And during that time, we can use the inventions that we built to also push the button and attack zombies. So that is the basic setup for Zombies Keep Out. And now we're going to go into the gameplay section of this review. I'm going to run a couple of turns for you, let you see how it goes. I'll make sure that we play at least enough where the zombies are attacking the barricade. If that takes 3 turns or 4 turns or whatever it is, that's what we're going to do. But I'm not going to play much more than that. This is not going to be a full play session. So let's get started, and welcome. Thanks for watching, and let's get going with Zombies Keep Out. Alright everybody, well, I hope you enjoyed that rules explanation for Zombies Keep Out. I want to get started on some gameplay and just start with the first turn. Now again, we're going to be playing a single player game, so I will try and highlight some things that are different between a single player game and the multiplayer version as we go. But anyway, let's just get going, and so we're going to start with our first turn. Okay, as with any game of Zombies Keep Out, the very first thing that the player does is draw a Terrible Things card. Now let's do that and see what we get. So here's the card. Now once again, in a multiplayer game, as the player who picked the card for that turn, or my turn, I would choose one of these, but I wouldn't let the other players know what they were. But in this case, since we're playing just a solo game, we're going to look at this and we're going to pick one. So it says add 2 runners to the door column, add 1 leaper to the balcony column, add 1 creeper to the cellar column. So that's what we're going to have to do. So let's think about that for a moment and make a decision. So since it's the first turn, there's not a whole lot going on. What I decided to do was just to add a creeper to the cellar column. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the yellow creepers, and we could put it in any space along there, but we'll just put it right there for now. And that will mark the end of that zombie movement phase, or what they call the zombies close in phase. And then we're going to move on to our turn. So there's a bunch of things that we could do during our turn. We can tinker, we can defend, we can repair, scrounge, or push the button. So as we look over here, we have a bunch of contraptions, but I don't know that I have anything that will start them off. If we look, we got 2 of these tanks, a couple of cogs, and this piece here. And well, we do actually have this one. I don't know how well you can see that on the screen. You probably can. It starts off with a green one. So why don't we do that? We're going to take a parts card, and we're going to use its first ability, which is Tinker. That is the zombie phage cannon. We're going to push that up 1 right there and get it started. Let me think. So basically, that is going to be the whole turn. Now, if we have multiple players, we'll be playing multiple cards as well. But that's basically what we're going to do. Okay, so we're actually this goes pretty fast as a single player game. Now we have 4 cards left, and we're going to draw a card, Terrible Things card, for our next turn. It says all leapers and brutes shamble. Add 2 leapers to the balcony column. Move the progress token on the 1 blueprint back 2 spaces. Well, I don't want to do that. We can't probably afford to have all leapers and brutes shamble. So let's look at how that will work. This is a good time to show you that. So leapers are blue. They're here on this side, and the brutes are here in the middle. And if we're going to shamble those, we're going to look at the arrows in the front. As you can see, if I have a blue guy here and going on the space, he's going to move 1 forward, and he's going to follow that arrow and move 1 forward. Same thing with the reds. Since they're on the appropriate spaces, they're just going to move 2 forward, and that's going to end their turn. So that's it for that turn, or that zombie round. So I don't see a whole heck of a lot of reason to use our cards to destroy zombies yet until they get closer, maybe one more space into the barricades. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to scrounge, which allows us to draw 2 more parts cards. So there we got that yellow pipe, which helps us on at least one of the deals. And then we also got another yellow pipe there, so it seems like we're grabbing things in pairs. But you can see that they also have different defend and repair abilities. So that is going to be our turn. We scrounged, and that's basically it. Okay, so we're going to draw our next Terrible Things card. That one's discarded. Now normally these would be discarded, if you can see over here, discarded face down, because in a multiplayer game we're not supposed to know what the other person picked, but we're just playing them face up for the single player version. So here, all runners and creepers shamble, all brutes and creepers shamble, or we take 1 bite token. Well, you know what? I'm going to take a bite token, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you one of the biggest differences between playing solo and playing with other players. 1 bite token means one of 2 things. One is, you know what, though we can only take 2 in a given turn. Or 2, if we take more than 2 we lose. Oh, what the heck. Let's give it a go. We'll take 1 bite token. Now, I don't know if there's a way to get rid of them. Except yeah, you know what, let's not take that. I'm not going to take the bite token. That's too risky. I think what we'll do is we'll have all runners and that's a lot of them though. Runners and creepers move. They'll shamble. So basically what we're going to see here, again, they're all in the appropriate spaces. So this one will move here, 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 and then we have the runners, which will be here, 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 and here, and that's basically going to be the movement of the zombies. Okay, well we can actually do something with a parts card again. I'm still missing one that I need, but we're going to get started on this one here, which is the Gremlin Workshop. Basically, it's going to give me a bunch of cards and stuff, but we're going to get going on that one. Remember, we have to complete 2 to win the game. Let me look at this. We also got the Crab Grapple and the Boom Flinger. So, and both of them we could. No, we can't start the Boom Flinger. Yeah, let's do this one. We have more towards this one, so we're going to start that. We're going to discard a Tinker card with. Yeah, we'll do this one because it doesn't have a repair piece on it. We'll discard this one. And that will be our tinkering for this turn. Okay, now we have to draw our next Terrible Things card. So, okay, here it says add 2 leapers to the board, add 2 creepers to the board, add 2 brutes to the board. Well, let's just add a couple of leapers to the board. Those are blue. Now remember, we can add them anywhere, so we're going to have some fun with that. We're going to put 1 here and 1 here in the window spaces and make them move away. And that's basically it for that. So now we have the ability to do some more things. You know, there is going to be a point where zombies start to get on each other's spaces. And I think that's a better time to use these because you can discard multiple ones to kill a bunch of zombies. But for this turn, what we're going to do is we're going to use this one here, and we're going to increase our Gremlin Workshop up 1 to that. And that's going to be our turn. So you can see the gameplay is extremely simple. It does get more complicated when the zombies approach the barricade or start pushing and shoving each other. But let's continue and draw our next Terrible Things card. Okay, let's see what we get here. We can add 2 runners to each window column. Don't know how I feel about that. Add 2 creepers to the board or add 2 brutes to the board. Well, that's 2 as opposed to 4, so I think we'll add 2 brutes to the board. We'll put 1 out here and 1 out here. Why the heck not? And then we can, now we're at a point now we're kind of stuck on our inventions. So I think what we're going to do is scrounge for parts and see what we come up with. So we get to draw 2 cards, and you can see we get this one here with this little piston thing, and another tank. Man, we really don't have a lot of uses for these tanks. We've got to use them for other things, I think. Anyway, that again is our turn. We scrounged, and now we're going to draw another Terrible Things card. Okay, here's our next one. It says add 2 runners to each window column. All zombies in the window column shamble. In window columns, that means both of them. Move 2 progress tokens on 2 blueprints back 1 space. I don't want to do that. I think we'll do the all zombies in the window columns shamble. Now, what we're going to have here, let's talk about that. So these are the window columns here. We have this guy, you see he's gray, so he's going to move up here. We're going to have this gray guy you see by the arrow, he's going to move here. But this is where it gets a little interesting. So in this case, the blue arrow points to here. So instead of moving straight, he's actually going to move one over because he's trying to head toward his spot on the board. Yeah, all zombies and window columns. So that is going to be the correct movement. He's going to move in with this one. Then we're going to have this one move up, and again, this one's going to move over to fill that space with the blue zombie, the other blue zombies, or whatever kinds they are, walking toward the, I guess they're the leapers, walking toward the balcony. So that's going to be the Terrible Things card. Well, we're still missing a critical component to continue our Gremlin workshop. But in the meantime, I think what we'll do is, man, see, like this one, I kind of want to keep this one around. It hits 2 gray ones on a space. That's pretty good, but we don't have 2 gray ones on a space, so I don't think we're going to use that this turn. But I think what we will do is we might as well, let's see, we're going to take, yeah, let's do this. We'll take this one. We don't need these ones so much, and we're going to use it for its effect, and we're going to defend and kill a yellow zombie. They just go back in the pool when that happens, and that's going to help perhaps slow down any attacks on our barricades. Okay, drawing our next Terrible Things card. Here's what we get. We can add 2 leapers to the board. All runners and leapers shamble. That's an awful lot of them. I'm not comfortable with that. Move the progress token on 1 blueprint back 2. Don't like that one either. I guess we're going to add 2 leapers to the board. Now remember, we can add them, and the leapers are blue. We can't add them anywhere. Let's make them have to do a long walk. We're going to add them. Now, you can have up to 3 zombies in a space. Okay? So we can do that right there, and that will be a legitimate move. Okay, let's move on to our turn again. Okay, I think we're going to scrounge and draw 2 more parts cards. So we get this lever and another cog. I mean, this is not help, but we can use the lever next turn. As you can see, we need 2 more of those, 2 of these, and another cog. We're getting kind of closer on that workshop. We could also build the first part of the crab grappler, or the second part of the zombie phage cannon. That's probably what we're going to end up doing, because that's a good one. But anyway, that's our scrounge, so we're going to move on to drawing another Terrible Things card. Okay, so here we have this card. We can add 1 runner, all runners shamble, or all zombies in 1 column of your choice shamble. So if we do have the runners shamble, the gray ones, they're going to attack the barricade. We can add 1 runner to each window column, and we can still do that without any issues. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add 1 there. We're going to add 1 there, and that's really going to help us a lot, even though the zombies are starting to pile up. Now let's get on to our turn. So that zombie phage cannon is actually going to help us more, I believe will help us more in the workshop. The workshop, when we complete it, allows us to draw 4 part cards as supplies and push the button twice. And when you push the button, it's going to have an effect. I think at this one it draws cards. So we're going to do this. We're going to take this one and use it for this top piece here. And in doing that, we're going to come over here and bump up the zombie phage cannon 1 more in our tinkering, and that's going to end that action for us. Okay, let's draw our next Terrible Thing card. So we can add 2 runners to the balcony space. That's kind of interesting because runners don't really go on the balcony space. That would put them at 3. We can do that. We can add 1 creeper to the cellar space. That would put that space at, well, if we put them the far back, it would put them at 3 as well. Or we can add 1 brute to the door column. I think we're going to add 1 brute to the door column since it's clear. We'll do that, and that's basically the end of that action. Okay, well, this is a pretty good card, but we need this piece right here. It's going to help us build the next part of our cannon. So we're going to use that, and we're going to do some tinkering, and we're going to bump the zombie phage cannon up 1 more. We're getting closer. We don't have too many more to go, but we're going to need some parts soon. We're starting to run low on parts, and that's going to end that action. Okay, drawing our next Terrible Things card. Here's what we have. Add 5 zombies to the board. That's rough. Each player discards 2 cards or take 2 bite tokens. let's not add any zombies to the board. We have something we can do here. I don't need these tanks right now. In fact, I won't need one. Well, I need one of them. What I won't need is this pipe yet for a little while. So we're going to dump the pipe. We're going to dump one of the tanks, and that'll get rid of 2 cards from our hand and satisfy the Terrible Things card. Leaves us with 3 cards right now, but we're going to move on to our turn. Okay, so for our turn we're going to do some scrounging, and we're going to draw 2 cards. That's a good one. We need that one. Oops, sorry. And another yellow pipe. So basically we kind of replace what we had. Alright, and that's basically our action. Now for our Terrible Things card. Each player discards 1 card. All zombies in 1 row of your choice shamble. Okay. All zombies of the type of your choice shamble. Well, let's do this. We're going to pick the all zombies in 1 row of your choice shamble. We're going to pick this one leading to the basement. We're going to just move these up 1. And you always go from the front to the back, starting with the lowest numbers, or wrapping around with the lowest numbers. And that's what we're going to end up looking like for that action. Okay, so we're going to take a tinker action, and we're going to use this card. And what we're going to do is tinker our cannon up 1 more, putting up 1 more space. We're getting pretty close to getting that one done. We're closing in, though we're missing some parts, and we're going to have to do some scrounging. Okay, now to draw a Terrible Things card. Basically, this one says we're going to add 1 leaper to the board, add 1 creeper to the board, or add 1 brute to the board. Well, let's do this. We're going to add a creeper. We're going to put it right here in its column, and I'm trying to just keep them back as long as I can while we try and get to one of these contraptions before they really start hitting the barricade. But let's move on to our turn. Okay, for our action turn, we're going to scrounge some more parts because we're missing some parts. Got another tank. That's not going to hurt us at all, and another pipe doesn't really help us. So we have the 2 tanks to complete this contraption over there, but we need some levers, the lever pulls, to get it. So let's move on to our next Terrible Thing card. Well, as you can see, this is a pretty fast-paced game. Moves right along, and it would move equally fast with 5 players. It wouldn't take up that much more time, obviously, per turn anyway. So on this one, we get to add 1 leaper to the balcony column, 1 creeper to the cellar column, or add 2 zombies to the door column. We may have to do that. Well, no, we don't. We can actually add a leaper to the balcony column. That's what we're going to do. So we take a blue leaper from the pool, we add it back here to the balcony column. Okay, let's move on. Alright, so we're going to take one of the parts cards here, I think this one, and we're going to use the tank here, and we're going to increase this up 1 more. We're going to install this tank in our zombie phage cannon, and continue on from there. Okay, well, here is our card. It says add 1 runner to the balcony door or cellar. We can do that now. All zombies in the bottom row shamble. That's kind of rough. Or take 1 bite token. Well, let's add 1. We can do this now. We're going to add 1 runner to the balcony. That's here in the backspace. 1 to the door, which is here. And then 1 to the cellar, which is here. So that's going to be our turn. Now, here's the cool thing. So for our turn, we're going to get to complete this. And so I'm going to play this card in our tinker phase, and we have completed the final piece of that. So we have completed one of our contraptions. Now, what does this do? Let's take a look at it. It says the completion bonus. Draw 5 parts cards as supplies and push the button. It says when you push the button on this contraption, immediately perform a defend action. After resolving it, destroy up to 1 zombie in the chosen space or an adjacent space. So that's what it says here. So you can see here's our contraption after it's been done. It says push the button. Immediately perform a defend action. After resolving it, destroy up to 1 zombie in the chosen space or adjacent space. So, okay, that's a pretty cool card for us. So we have turned it up. We're first going to get 5 parts cards that we got for completing the contraptions. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then of course we get to push the button. So what do we want to do? We're going to play one that's, we don't need the tank. Let's do this. We're going to, yeah, we'll take this one. We're going to do this. We're going to hit the tank on with one of the yellow ones. That's our defend action as part of pushing the button. So we're going to get rid of this guy. Now it says we can also get rid of a guy in the adjacent, the same space or the adjacent space. So what we can do here is, yeah, we can immediately perform defend action after resolving it, destroy up to one zombie in the chosen space. You know, I realized I did make a mistake because I think this guy moved. I don't believe I put him here. So if he was here, well, no, it says gray would have moved forward. So we were okay. Okay, I think we're still okay with the movement. Anyway, we did do that, so I might as well destroy the one in the same space. Or, well, it says adjacent space. I could knock this down. We'll take this one off anyway. Why not? Boom. So we actually pushed our button on our cannon after completing that contraption. We got lots of parts. I guess we could start working toward completing that Gremlin workshop a little more, though that one does require more levers, as do all but the boom flinger, which requires a cog, which we have. In fact, I think we can complete the boom flinger. We have enough to complete that with the cards that we have currently on the table. Anyway, I do believe that's going to give you a fantastic idea of how this game works. So you end up making these cool contraptions, you blow up zombies with them, push them back, and continue to build contraptions. Once you've managed to build 3, then you win the game. If you've lost all your barricades or you've been bitten twice, then you lose the game. Now again, when you're playing a multiplayer game, you're going to also have some other rules that apply in regards to bites, and this makes it a little more entertaining. So as a player, if you've received 1 bite token, you can no longer trade cards, which we didn't do in a single player game anyway, with other players, and must slur your speech when talking. So I guess you have to talk like this or something. Anyway, 2 bite tokens, you can no longer perform a tinker action, that's bad, and must grumble your words using barely intelligible speech. 3 bite tokens, you can no longer choose your own terrible things, that's bad. Before drawing a card, you hold up your hands basically and pick 1, 2, or 3 fingers to determine which one before you draw the card is going to be in effect. And then you can no longer use any words when speaking, only grunts, grumbles, and hand motions. If you have 4 bites, you're fully zombie infected. Instead of performing an action each turn, draw a second card from the deck of terrible things. So you never really want to get to the point where you have 4 bites. That's for sure. Anyway, that is Zombies Keep Out. I hope that gave you a decent indicator of how the game plays. It's a fairly simple and straightforward game. Really, I think good for families with kids, etc. But still, there's still enough there. It's not a really long game, as you can tell. It's a very fast-paced game. And I still believe there's enough there to sit around with a group of people and play this as a light strategy cooperative game. So I hope you enjoyed that. I do like the game, especially with my kids. I don't know how my gaming group would accept it over time. I mean, I think we might get a couple plays on it, but nobody would want to play it too often because it is extremely light in rules. Now, there's some strategy to the gameplay. You got to push the zombies back. It's definitely like a Plants vs. Zombies type defense thing where they're marching on you and beating you down. But that's the game. That is Zombies Keep Out. So, if you're interested, go ahead and check it out in your local game store or online. And we'll talk to you next time. So thanks for watching. Again, as far as a review is concerned, I think I like to kind of let you get your own idea. For me, this game is good for my kids and me. It's going to show up in my game group once or twice, and we'll see if people are interested. I haven't played it with them yet. It's light. My game group tends to like heavier games. If we were to pull out a cooperative zombie type game, it would probably be Zombicide or Last Night on Earth would be another one that would probably come out. So if we're going to play a zombie game, this one might make it when I say, hey, you want to play a zombie game, scratch that itch, but it's going to be shorter and faster. That might be appealing a couple of times. But again, I do think this is really predicated or dictated toward people with younger children to play 8 and up, that, etc., etc. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.